Well, about recording. Here's the thing. I wanted to do a video about Comicsgate and the concept of Comicsgate, and we've already done specifically ideas about why Comicsgate had already failed before it started, which I've talked about in like 2015. It's like, here's why Comicsgate would never work because of the fans and ultimately because of what happened. The reason why people think Comicsgate is happening now is because of the sort of the failed idea of diversity in comics, who doesn't understand the medium, the industry, any of that stuff. But he thinks he does, mostly because he wants to get hired by Marvel. And
There's a lot of people
recording now, so we can say this.
There's a lot of people exactly like him. Exactly like him, because comics are a very mainstream thing, and Cape Shit comics are even more mainstream than that.
Well, they're mainstream, but they're also a minority.
Yeah. No matter how much
in fact, we've shown that the guy who created Bane, his name is Chuck Dixon, and he made a post this year about how superhero comics killed the comics industry in the 1960s. And we did a video about that.
Yeah.
And nobody really even knows about that, but we've fucking known that superhero comics have basically been choking out the industry, because all it does is create an industry that only appeals to superhero fans when the comics readership is bigger than just superhero fans. And no one acknowledges that, us except us.
Of course it is. Yeah, they never made an effort to secure any audiences outside of superheroes or franchises.
And they count the movies as being a success for the genre, when it's not a success for the genre in the comics. It's just a success for the movies, because the movies do it differently.
The opposite of that.
We should be recording.
If anything, it's showing that the fucking comics are dragging down the fucking industry with the help of the movies, because people go to see the movies. They're like, oh, let me see the source material. And they never, ever read more than one issue of anything. Because the source material is terrible.
I did start recording a couple minutes ago, by the way. So we're recording.
Okay, good.
Should have been recording a while ago.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to stop the stream so we could do a separate video. But anyways, yeah, about Comicsgate. The thing about Comicsgate is that it's a lot of superhero fans who are like, oh, we need to save superhero comics, and they're missing the point, is that you don't need to save superhero comics, you need to save comics. The problem is bigger than that, and they don't realize that. And that's why they've already failed, and they're going to continue failing.
They don't know, and they never will.
They don't know.
They
won't
know.
Like Vietnam vets answering how to change a light bulb.
Him and his audience are convinced the superhero comics are comics. You know,
they think those are the only comics. In fact, they think
superhero comics
are
high
literally
disdain.
the only
yeah,
comics
you can
that
hear it in his voice.
And I have seen several of his fans act that way too. So that's not even just a marginal.
Yeah, it's not just him.
Whatever.
It's not just him. Yeah, it's not a generalization or a stereotype. Yes. They're backing it up with their own claims.
Their own claims and their behavior.
No one else reads anything else.
They're just straight up saying that if you don't save superhero comics, you're not saving comics. And it's like, the superhero comics are pretty much already dead, and even in American comics, the biggest comics are Saga, which is a fantasy sci-fi comic that really is kind of generic.
That is not a superhero comic.
Yeah, and then The Walking Dead, the top seller is The Walking Dead.
Also not a superhero comic.
It doesn't even have heroes, really. It just has some...
It's not even that good either. It's okay. It's basically yet more zombies, which are...
American Comics has yet to reveal... American Comics has yet to reveal and reach its true next level. It's not even close. American Comics can easily fucking go way past something like Watchmen or Batman Year One, and it hasn't done that yet. And it could have years ago, and it still hasn't. Mm-hmm. But I would say, though, the closest it's come, and a great example of comics going past that level, is Asterios Polyp, which Diversity in Comics has actually praised before, but he's never reviewed it and never really talked about it before. We have, though. No. We reviewed it.
He's just playing the market, you know. You can hear it in his voice every time he's talking.
I mean, he even admits that. he even admits it's like, oh, people don't like it when I review this or do this or talk about this.
Yeah, he's
So
all
stop
about his
doing that.
popularity. He's really quite the popularity cuck.
He's a whore. He's a complete whore.
He's a shill.
Hold
He's
on,
a
hold on.
DNC shill.
Come on.
He's a
Hold on.
fucking whore. Because he has admitted all he really wants to do is get hired at Marvel. That's his main motivation. If it wasn't for getting hired at Marvel, he probably wouldn't even have a channel.
Use every available step and every material at your disposal to, to figure this out, like to make this work.
To aim for the middle, though. That's what
he
he's
is
doing.
a-
He's using every
But he's not
material
succeeding.
as thing to
He's
aim for
never
the middle.
going to work for Marvel. I mean, he might work for Marvel someday in many, many, many years. But it's not going to be for a while.
Yeah, it's like wanting to work for Dynamite. And really, if you work for Marvel, you're going to write the next Spider-Man. Not the next Spider-Man. You're going to just write Spider-Man. It's like, so what? Berserk already exists, and that's a better comic. Fucking, The Promised Neverland, that's a better comic. And that's fucking probably not even popular in manga. But fucking, My Hero Academia is more popular than superhero comics. And that's a fucking like a distillation of fucking superhero comics shot through the prism of Japanese comics. And the art is better.
It's almost a celebration of American cape shit.
Yeah, it's a celebration of cape shit, but does it better because cape shit is like just phoning it in by stretching itself too
It's
thin.
so cynical. That's the problem with it, is that it's completely cynical. But then
It's current
My Hero
year cynical.
Academia is
Also-
completely sincere.
Yeah, it's also implied that you know everything about superhero comics, whereas with New Hero Academia, it's a new universe with new systems that
Well,
you get
yeah,
to discover.
That's exactly what some fucking dupa on Tumblr said. If you want to start reading X-Men or Spider-Man, where do you start? And just this confused map of like, fuck it, that's but meanwhile,
So it's issue 609 with the fucking stupid ass arc where he gets cloned 20 times and gets eaten by a spider.
yeah,
and
he
then-
gets eaten by a spider and shit back out as a spider, so that now he has genetic biological web shooters. Meanwhile, at the same time, where do you start reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Volume 1? There.
Mhm.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Volume 1. And not JoJo's Spectacular Astounding Adventures of JoJo fucking issue 0.6.
Yeah.
The special fucking limited edition.
Yeah, with a variant cover.
The lenticular covers.
Dude,
Which-
I'm tired.
again,
lenticular cover because those are
another
worth
thing.
anymore.
Diversity in Comics was completely shilling for lenticular covers just a few months ago. That's how much of a fucking cuck he is for American comics. And not just American
That's his
comics.
idea of
American
saving
comics can
comics.
be great. American
That's
comics
going to be
can be
saving
great
comics.
right now.
His
But you have to
plan of
throw
saving
all of that gimmick shit in the garbage. And that's exactly what Comic Liberty was supposed to be like. Hey, throw the comic fucking gimmick shit into the garbage and just focus on the content. And what American comics readers said, who were either had already moved on to manga that threw away the gimmick shit, or they were stuck on American comics that were completely obsessed with gimmick shit. And the ones who were stuck on American comics were like, no, we want the gimmick shit. We want to be pandered to like retards. And then all of a sudden, American comics started getting more cut than usual, and Comicsgate, the entire Comicsgate crowd, still completely sucked the dick of Marvel. And like,
They marked
this
out.
is still good, this is still okay.
They marked
And then years
out
passed, and
the
then
fucking
finally
gimmick.
they were like, okay, now we should do something after it was too late. Now it's too late.
Think about, excuse me, popcorn here. Think about what he's accomplished and what was in the way of anything else getting accomplished. All right. You had a bunch of fucking dickheads sitting around, huffing their own fucking farts, writing stories about shit they knew nobody gave a shit about.
But that was happening years ago before he even started. That was happening when Shitty Webcomics was doing reviews of fucking actual print comics.
Yeah, and it needs to stop because we have an ideological mess to deal with before we can think about reviving an industry and changing and diversifying it. There's just this problem of these people
they killed
these
the
wrong
art.
things.
They killed the entire concept of the form to begin with. And on top of that, even doing that, they're not even doing a good job of that because they're fucking shitting the bed in sales. The sales have they have hit the floor.
For
It's
years,
kinda
though,
like
really for decades. But
kind of like the foundation Trump built the economy on, the Obama Foundation. It's like, yes, rock bottom is a good foundation to build on.
Yeah, man. Well, anyway, there's more than one problem at a time. Handling too many problems at once. It's like there's only so much he wants to do, he can do.
But there's
not really much
only
you
one
can do
problem to deal with, and that's social justice, which is a censorious ideology.
Much like the retards who are currently sitting and pretty in the industry, he is a specialized tool who is out to get his own ends, and there's nothing you can do to influence him away from that. What can, however, be done is to rise up in the ranks and become someone who is to looked up to. Anyway,
yeah, that's
but right
great.
now you've got
that's what people should be doing. But the thing is, there's people doing that right now that he's not only not supporting, but he's actively against. Like you take Pigman, and he's acting like him and his fans are acting like Pigman is some kind of ideological extremist comic. And it's not.
Like, Pigman is a problem.
And I've seen his fans do that. I've seen his fans say, oh, this is an extremist comic. It's just the other side of the coin against social justice. It's extremist.
And they've never read it.
It's not. It's not even close.
They have never even read it, so they don't even know that it's not that. But the fact that they won't even look at it.
What they need is somebody like Diversity in Comics to say, hey, here's this Pigman comic. I don't like it, but you might be interested in it. Instead, he's like, oh, it doesn't look like my kind of thing. So
he won't even talk about it.
It's the fucking
He could at least talk about it. He could at least backpedal and say, okay, here's this thing. I don't like it. I'm not going to view it. But here's Pigman. Here's the information about it. You might be interested. Here's some things you ought to know. He won't even do that.
And he does like 4 videos a day, and he won't do one single 10-minute video. He's doing fucking 30-minute videos, reading tweets from some fucking psychopath, giving them a platform on his channel. Basically the same as when people were constantly submitting Kate Leth's, sheets and sheets of Kate Leth's tweets to us on the blog, and we would delete them because we knew better than to give her a platform on our blog. Meanwhile, Diversity in Comics is fully giving any of these people. If it was the same thing, he would post every post submitted to him about every completely retarded thing she was saying. It would be a complete waste of time, and it is a complete waste of time because he's posting half-hour videos just reading tweets of some fucking insane mentally ill person.
No.
It was funny when he made fun of them 4 or 5 times. Now it's like 50, 100, 150 videos of Mags Visaggio, a fucking man in a Party City wig.
Which that's the kind of stuff we used to say years before he ever said it, too.
There's degrees of delicacy.
But of course, we ended up getting fucking shut down.
In fact, people are yelling at him, being like he's too hardcore.
Called a Nazi.
People are screaming at him, saying that he's gone too far when he says...
That's because he's successful.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that people were trying to do that to us, too. And we were like, hey, fuck you. Fucking take our blog or leave it.
Nobody fucks with us.
So we were less of a faggot than he. That's really our point, is that he's a huge faggot, and we never were. So therefore, we have every right to say what
well, that's also why
saying.
We had to get shut down. It's why they had to delete our channel. They couldn't just fucking call us Nazis. They knew that we would destroy them.
They couldn't even do that.
They had to go nuclear on our channel.
Yeah, and whenever they do that to him, he actually gives them the frame of the argument. He's like, I'm not a Nazi, actually. Here's the thing. And instead of being like, hey, fuck off, faggot.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Anyway. He doesn't know what we already learned fucking a decade before him. is that when it comes to these people, they're going to slander you because they have nothing else. You have to you have to take that and turn it against them. You have to take their plan and turn it on themselves.
Turn it on themselves. Look at what I did to your comics industry with a few barrels of gas and a couple of bullets.
Yes, exactly. And that's really all it should take. And he has no understanding of that. And the entire movement doesn't take any lessons from anything. They're really just a bunch of randomized people who are just reacting and reacting and reacting as they always have been. They're never pressing an attack and they're never pressing anything. They're just constantly on the ropes, just taking punches. And their entire argument is, hey, stop punching me. And that's it.
I don't like being punched, and you're punching me. So if you could stop doing that, I could get back to fucking cutting into your bottom line and criticizing you.
Yeah, or continuing to fucking maintain your bottom line while saying, "Hey, your comics are bad. Here's why I'm buying them anyways," which is another thing that Diversity in Comics did. He's done that. He has actually recommended comics by Dan Slott and Mark Waid. He's like, "Oh, I hate these guys. They called me a Nazi. They wanted me beaten up at this comics convention, but this comic they just wrote today is actually really good. So here it is. And if you buy it, make sure to put hashtag move the needle." And it's like the most fucking faggoty thing I've ever seen in comics. It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
He should be embarrassed.
I don't know. He's a middle of the road kind of guy who people associate with inherently. He doesn't come down judgmental.
He's not going to help. He's not going to save the industry, though. That's the key thing.
Yeah,
I suppose
the
not.
Key, most important element. He is not going to save the industry.
He is just a man.
He's just a man. Fucking, he fucking
just
wants
a
to.
Man.
He doesn't even want to see a cloudy sky. Such a faggot.
Yeah.
He's not a vampire. Just like that song secretly about vampires.
Is it really? I don't know.
Well, he doesn't want to see there's nothing he despises more than fucking sun. He wants to see a cloudy sky. It's totally about the book and movie Twilight. It's clearly about Edward Cullen. It must be about. That's actually that's disappointing for me to even say, let alone fucking hear my own ears say it out of my mouth.
That song, "Get the Motherfucker on the Phone,"
yes,
was actually in a movie that we watched.
Yeah,
recently.
Did you ever watch Mayhem? I doubt it, but
no, I didn't.
It is. That's at the Red Box, and it's like the Belko experiment. I was going to say Belko project. It's like the Belko experiment, except more trashy, and
more trashy, more fun.
The main character is just like Asian dude. And it's like...
It's the guy from The Walking Dead. It's Glenn from The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, Glenn from The Walking Dead, after he's dead. But, oh, wait.
After he got his head beaten with a baseball bat.
Season 8 spoilers.
But he got his skull crushed by a baseball bat by the fucking one-shot villain of the season.
You actually watched that show or skimmed it.
It is comic accurate.
But yeah, he's in the movie Mayhem, which is like office building, and then it's like outside the world. Sometimes there's this outbreak of the red-eye disease where everyone becomes completely de-inhibitioned.
It's like the rage virus.
Yeah, but not the rage virus where they're out of control. They're still themselves. They're just like so super drunk that they just do whatever they secretly always wanted to. So this office building becomes infected. And they're like, oh, everyone's killing each other. So fucking him and fucking this crazy chick is like, oh, my house got foreclosed on, and he's like, oh, well, too bad. But then they both get the red eye virus, and everyone and the CEOs at all the top get the. So it's sort of like ultimate corporate revenge kind of movie, and so they're about to fucking kill some of the CEOs underlings, and he's like, oh, put on this and. It was after he explained to her that he actually likes Dave Matthews Band. She's like, "Oh, fucking, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why don't you listen to death metal, motherfucker?" But he's like, "Put on this song," and she's like, "If this is the Dave Matthews Band, I'm gonna kill you myself." But he's like, "No, put on, and then I see it like the cover for Sol Invictus pop up, and it's like, is that something I recognize? It's like for a split second, and then it
Mhm.
kicks in because it's just that one piano note. Because when it comes to Faith No More, they're like one of the only bands that even plays piano anymore.
Yeah, that's
So
because they know
Motherfucker
how
kicks in, and
to.
it's like, okay, this is Motherfucker by fucking Faith No More. As one of their
Hmm.
fucking and we've actually said this in a previous podcast that I think I've deleted, but it's one of those songs where it's like it's called Motherfucker, so you expect it to just be a sort of cheesy throwaway, like, oh, we're trying to fucking offend people on intentionally,
Hmm.
but
Oh, it's good.
instead it's like one of the best songs on the entire album, and it's a really good
Yeah.
album.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in fact,
Sol
Sol
Invictus.
Invictus is a fucking great song. Superhero I like a lot, but it's almost sort of like a kind of a takeoff parody on the military. But it's clearly
Yeah, I
not
forget what
serious
exactly.
enough that it's like, fuck you, military man. It's more like just kind of a, it doesn't really mean it. Like, I've seen people point out that when it comes to Faith No More and Mike Patton, the words aren't supposed to mean anything. They're just supposed to be about the music of the actual sounds of the voice.
Um,
That's how a lot of fucking rock music is in general, anyway.
That's how it should be. And I think Mike Patton understands that more than even the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or the
Yeah,
Who or any of the fucking bands ever.
where it's like, do you listen to the words, man?
Listen to the words, man. The words have a lot of meaning. Like Tool and Pearl Jam and Nirvana and all that fucking stupid ass shit. Mike Patton was like the first one to be like, the words are just sounds. They're part of
Pretty
the
much.
music. That's all that matters. And they can mean something. They can mean something, but
They
that's
don't
not as
have to.
important.
It's not critical theory.
Yeah, so that's why Faith No More is actually one of the best bands ever.
that's correct.
Ever.
I agree. I agree.
And you know what though? Also, I think something else I think you'll agree with. One of the reasons why Oingo Boingo's lyrics are the best is because they understand the point of the sounds of the words, but also at the same time, Danny Elfman also understood that he wanted to be so punk that he would make lyrics that are just straight up like conservative values. That's why you get
Yeah.
songs like Capitalism and Just a Lad.
Legitimate, actual fucking rebellion,
Yeah,
as opposed to marketed and staged rebellion, which is
emotional
what
rebellion, but like fuck you,
all
mom and
punk
dad,
is
man.
nowadays.
Instead, you get a song that just straight up says, "There's nothing wrong with capitalism." Just straight up, those are the lyrics
There's
to
nothing wrong
Capitalism
with
by Oingo
free
Boingo.
enterprise. It's a huge middle finger in the face of every fucking, not just liberals, but like young college age. And this is back in the 80s. This is not modern seduce shit. This is all the way back in the fucking 80s.
That's we have to point out every time. It's very important to point out that SJW phonetically is pronounced "sju."
Did I say it again and not even remember?
Without even thinking. But the fucking it's not actually about Jews though. It's just about "sju."
There's literally nothing wrong with being Jewish.
Literally nothing wrong.
I don't know about that.
The Holocaust happened, and I wish it didn't.
Yes.
I don't know.
Exactly.
If you really think about it.
If you had to think about it, it's kind of bad. Maybe if only half of them were killed.
So like, there weren't 6 million Jews at the Auschwitz, therefore the Holocaust didn't happen.
If only 3 million Jews were killed, I would be much happier.
It was only 6 million was a paperwork error.
666 million.
It's a paperwork error. They were very careful with the paperwork.
Yes,
but not in this
case.
They
made sure to take paperwork, and it was exactly 600. It wasn't 5,000. It was not 5,999,999,999 fucking Ultima cast for
all nines, repeating nines.
Yes.
We looked at it with fucking Leroy Jenkins, and it's repeating nines, of course.
Repeating nines. which is actually fucking not only didn't apply then but doesn't apply now. If you went and did upper black wing spire or whatever, black wing spire, fucking for strength for stamina built.
Which I'm sure he didn't. He wouldn't have gotten an upgrade on since he had found it all the way up to
Level 18. That would have been really good back in fucking vanilla cuck. Wow. Back, remember those shitty days when fourth strength? Now fucking nowadays you play WoW, you get fourth strength, four stam leather built at like level 2. As
you don't get
should've.
them. No, you don't get them with strength because people who wear leather don't need
Yeah,
strength.
if you wear leather, strength is a fucking worthless stat. It doesn't actually do anything for your dumb class. What a stupid game. World of Warcraft is really dumb. It was always dumb back then, and we knew that, and then it's even dumber then. That's why we invented the all elves are whores meme. We invented that back in the World of Warcraft days.
It's like the piano key necktie of war.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really mean anything, except people fucking act like, oh, all elves are whores. That's true. And it's like, yeah, we invented that meme. We were there first. Sort of like making fun of weebs. We did that first. We invented that back in the 1990s.
And we perfected it.
Yes.
We not only invented it, we perfected it.
And again, what we were doing then for against weebs, we're doing now for comic books. So if you really want to know what's going to happen to American comics and Comicsgate and all that shit, you should listen to us, but you're not smart enough. People have already been ignoring us, and that's why Comicsgate is going to continue.
Well, not ignoring
making
us.
the mistakes they've already been making.
We haunt their dreams.
Yes,
but they're like, oh,
we're like Hand Banana with Carl. We haunt the dreams.
Bananas. Woohoo! I love Hand Bananas.
We've literally raped. We literally raped them.
Spaghetti. Okay, you're spaghetti. That's my impersonation of Carl. Pretty good. Fucking 40,000 million. He's really just Andrew Dice Clay, but even cooler. Because he's bald. He has a giant fat gut.
He just doesn't start crying about when people don't get the joke.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't go on the Colbert Show and start fucking crying like a faggot. Carl never does that. He'll never do that because the show's been canceled, which is good.
The show actually has an ending.
Yeah, meanwhile, fucking Andrew Dice Clay went on the Colbert fucking show, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, like not even last year, but like a few months ago, and started crying and apologizing for his entire career. That's what the fucking Stephen Colbert does.
That's the fucking shit, the shit that Stephen Colbert does.
Yeah. So
that
what
we
was
have
our
to destroy.
topic supposed to be, by the way? It was Comicsgate.
Something like that. I forget.
What about it, though? I mean, we've already done a video about why Comicsgate has failed already, but here's another video, I guess, about why Comicsgate has also failed some more. And here's another thing, is that the people in Comicsgate, they're not working to make better comics. The comics, if any of them are working to make comics,
first off, there is no
fucking
gate.
Terrible.
There is no gate, but yeah, their idea
exactly. There was no gate. Nothing happened.
It's their fucking Mary Sue self-insert fucking superhero character.
Yeah, their entire goal is to just make their own superheroes. Either that, or just that's their gateway into making fucking Spider-Man. They're like, oh, I want to make Batman comics. I want to turn my Batman fanfic into a Batman comic. And it's like, okay, how about aiming higher? And it's like, no, you don't want to. I'm a faggot. They actually say, I'm a faggot, in that voice. Why do they say it in that voice? Why would they admit that they're a faggot? I don't know.
They're a bad person.
They're a bad person. Earroll. But here's the thing. Our comics that we're trying to make are better than Watchmen. We're making better comics better than even
the
Watchmen.
Next
We're
Watchmen
on the next
evolution.
level already.
The next Watchmen evolution.
Yeah, the next evolution beyond Watchmen, because Watchmen was just like the best comic for superheroes. What we're doing already, what we've already made, has been better than the best comics in fucking American comics history.
Well, we're just getting started too.
Yeah, that's just a warm up.
It's a layup.
Yeah, that's just the setup for the slam dunk, which again, manga has been mastering. A manga has a comic called Slam Dunk, and it's about basketball. Fucking manga has been doing fucking sports comics. They've been doing sports comics. And they're doing them like shonen manga, where it's like everyone has a superpower. It's like, oh, wait until I do my fucking super dunk, where I do a backflip and everyone flies off, and the enemy team blows off into the crowd or whatever the fuck. And it's really
Sounds
stupid, but
it
at
sounds
the same
stupid as
time,
hell.
at least that's about something other than superheroes. And you could say,
Yeah,
oh,
and
it's a
people are buying
superhero
it.
power, but it's like, but at least it's taking place in another genre. At least.
People are buying it. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
People will actually pay for and read that shit, and it's not cape shit.
Yeah, it's not literal. Like, if you took fucking Power Girl and say, now she's a soccer player, at least that would be something different than just Power Girl. She's going around punching a fucking guy made out of rocks or whatever the fuck. It would be at least something new.
But at least the key thing is people are paying for it, and
Barely.
because they actually have a fucking medium
yeah,
to show it.
Yeah, in Japan. Well, here's the thing: is that in Japan, when you're paying for it, you're paying for a book that's like 99 cents that contains 20 different comics or something. It's like 300 pages for an entire book. It's ridiculous. And it fucking completely works to the point where they're doing it in America. You can subscribe right now to Weekly Shonen Jump. It's fully translated, 300 pages, about 300 pages. It's over 250 pages, like 288 pages. Go buy it right now. And it has the latest One Punch Man and a bunch of other completely new comics with art that is made by people who are fucking like idiot savant spurgers with their art. They're fucking like art perfectionists to the point where it's probably detrimental to their real lives. That's how good their fucking art is.
But I mean, there are people who are already detrimental to art in fucking cape shit, the big two right now. But first off, their art isn't that good, and secondly, they're not actually getting compensated for it.
And also,
they're getting scrooged. Well, some might even call gypped.
Yes, but it's also in service of essentially a fanfic written by a fanfic author.
Not an original fucking story, but literally that, a fanfic.
Yeah, in fact, there's fanfic authors out there who are probably creating something that is legitimately unique and weird and creative, and for some reason they're making fanfics, which means they're stupid, but at least they're trying to take a new twist on something. It's like, well, if you could just create like original characters, just take the character that you like and make an original twist on them. That would be something. But instead, they're making fanfics. Meanwhile, we're already on that next level. We're like, okay, if we're going to make some kind of fan work, instead of making it a fan work, we're going to make original characters, put an original setting, and give them original, different, unique fucking things to do. That's all you need. That's literally all you need for an original IP. And no one else seems to realize that except for a few people, and some of them are having some good success. And I would like to say we're just getting warmed up, but to be honest, we've been warmed up for a long fucking time. It's time to go. But for Comicsgate, a lot of them are just looking to bring back prayer in church. It's like, yeah, church already has it's already full of prayer. It's already got fucking ass loads of prayer. So what else do you got? And they don't have anything else. That's it. That's their only solution, is to continue doing the thing that they've already been doing that hasn't been working. You gotta, it's just like the Left 4 Dead 2 trailer. Fucking, have you been praying? Yeah. Well, pray harder, because that shit ain't working. and it certainly isn't. With fucking supporting superhero comics, that shit ain't working. And they're starting to, I've noticed, they're starting to realize that, where they're starting to actually support Image
Basically,
Comics.
basically everything we say and do in 5 years ends up getting adopted eventually anyway, and
Or
we
at
don't
least
get
2 years.
benefit.
At least 2 years. The stuff we've said 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, all that shit. We've been saying it for years. Now it's starting to fucking kick in. Really, after it's too late. The thing is, it's kind of never too late. But they also are still ascribing to really stupid ideas like saying that Marvel is the health of the industry. And it's really not. Anything is the health of the industry as long as it's the strongest company. That's how the free market works. That's how capitalism works. And again, as Oingo Boingo said, there's nothing wrong with capitalism.
It's actually astounding that fucking diversity in comics. He seems to know why SJW shit is stupid. He doesn't fucking seem to get that you don't need a fucking strong Marvel. And in fact, when a fucking company
Yeah, DC could take over.
especially Marvel came about in like just the 60s.
Yeah.
And used to be the fucking industry leaders. And then they got overtaken by Marvel eventually. So what the fuck is he even thinking?
Yeah, and whatever was
that
called
shit?
Marvel before then was the industry leaders, and then EC Comics was the industry leaders before they legislated against them. And nobody stopped to say, hey, no one should legislate against this comic. The free market should decide. But instead, the free market didn't decide. The fucking Comics Code came in, and basically conservatives came in and said, okay, you shouldn't be able to make this kind of comic. And that's what happened. And no liberals, no leftists stepped up. And that's what's happening today. Liberals and leftists aren't stepping up, and conservatives also aren't stepping. Conservatives are only stepping up to say, hey, we should make a comic where instead it's like a chick with a fucking a southern flag over her chest. Instead, it's just more superhero shit. And it's like, okay, here's what's the biggest draw right now is manga. And what you're trying to sell is something that nobody gives a fuck about anymore. So that's not going to sell, and their solution is, we're going to do it anyways.
You're fucking going to the McDonald's and you're demanding that they make you a fucking birthday cake.
Yeah, exactly. And you're saying, why aren't you making birthday cake? And it's like, well, we just have these dumbass hamburgers. And it's like, well...
Or even worse, you're going to fucking Taco Bell and you're asking for, like, fish. You're asking for their fish.
Yeah, and you're saying, why doesn't Taco Bell doesn't do better fish?
How come the fish at Taco Bell gives me bloody diarrhea and makes me vomit at the same time and has stomach intestinal parasites? It's because you ordered fish at Taco Bell. Dipshit.
Yeah, and then their solution, the Comicsgate solution to that would be, well, we need them to make more fish. That's the Comicsgate solution to fucking why comics are fucking so shitty right now. They're completely fucking retarded. And again, we've completely pointed this out over and over again.
Bitches.
They're fucking gay-ass motherfuckers. And then, again, to circle it all back, fucking Gerard Butler should snap their neck in one direction and then snap their neck in the other direction.
Stab them directly in the brain after snapping the neck twice.
After snapping the neck twice. And then fucking... my favorite part, though, is like he's just in a fucking goofy-ass kung fu... It's like a fake kung fu fight with Dexter from Dexter. And he's like kicking him and stuff, and then all of a sudden, like the goofy-ass teenager who's playing Gerard Butler in the video game version starts taking him over and like fucking claws at him and shit. And Dexter goes, whoa, but not really. And then fucking he's fighting. It's just fucking this goofy ass shit. Oh, it was a great movie. You know what's funny is that the first several minutes in that movie are actually really dumb and boring until like one
they seem really generic.
Teabags another.
Yes.
And it's
fake made by the guys who made the Crank movies?
Yeah, Neville, Dean, and Taylor. The guys who make the Crank movies And they
The
also
brilliant,
did
brilliant, delightful Crank movies.
the delightful Crank movies, and then they did Gamer, and then they did the sequel to Ghost Rider, a comic book movie. But here's the thing, is that had a unique vision as opposed to the actual comics by Marvel.
And especially the first movie.
You know what though? Those sort of, for a while, those and the Marvel comics, the Thor comics had sort of a unique vision where it was like a Ghost Rider was like sort of a death metal, and Thor also was sort of a death metal Led Zeppelin kind of like classical violence and chopping demons and that kind of shit. For about half a year around that time, and that did not last because I think no one really cared because again everyone had moved on to manga, and then so a lot of people
Kind of
got
like
into
what
Power
it's
at
kind of
Marvel
like what Dave Sim was talking about in that fucking article that we printed
from
on
the
our blog before it
1990s.
got taken over. He fucking said this in like 1990, and he was like, if people really want to get their mayhem, they can get it from fucking video games.
Yeah.
They don't need to get it from fucking comic books because comic books aren't as good.
But here's what happened is that Japanese comic books learned to deliver on that sense, and then American comics shied away. They were like, "Okay, here's where we need to go, but
We're
we
very
can't do
serious.
that."
Actually, we're very serious. We don't like that kind of stuff.
It's sort of yeah. In fact, one of the latest Dave Sim videos talked about how there was sort of like a fucking theater celebration, fucking one of those art installation things about Oscar Wilde. I think Oscar Wilde's grandson or great grandson sent Dave Sim a letter saying like, "Here's this celebration of Oscar Wilde that was happening in France." But they weren't going to have any comic art because, as they said in French, whatever the French words was it's not serious. And therefore, they didn't have any comic art celebrating Oscar Wilde. Therefore, that wasn't good enough. And that's pretty much what the American comics scene is like, even the Comicsgate scene.
That's France, where it's like they actually
pretentious and cunty and fucking up their own ass.
That's where fucking heavy metal comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking France still knows how to rebel even against their own fucking desires and intuitions and fucking all that other fucking bullshit. France knows how to fucking to be subversive against themselves, but they there's a large fucking section of them that doesn't versus a large section that wants to. And, France doesn't have what it takes, just like how America doesn't have what it takes. But, again, there's that section, like us, that knows what it's really going to take. And what's going to happen is that section that knows what it's going to take is going to create their own shit. And that's going to fucking take off. And it should. It certainly should. Like our section, we could create the next heavy metal. Whereas Diversity in Comics, he has the audience and the sort of supporter base that could create the next heavy metal, but won't because he just wants to get hired at Marvel.
It's very inappropriate, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to the kind of stuff that it would take, he wouldn't do it, whereas we would, which is why Diversity in Comics is cucked, and we are better than he ever will be. So, so with that said,
we got too much,
our Patreon.
We got too much credibility. Donate to our Patreon. But the thing is, we got too much actual credibility. We got too
much integrity.
Too much fucking integrity to actually fucking do that kind of shit.
We're too cool. We're too hip for this party, really.
And integrity is like the most important thing that
party
anyone can ever have. If you don't have integrity, you're not a person. You're an unperson.
You might as well get bitch fucked, like the bitch that you are. But anyways, yeah. So that's the sum up of our whole point, and that's why again, Comicsgate has already failed, and and so donate to our Patreon, and that's all that needs to be said. Fuck off.
Well, goddamn. It's quite a compelling speech.